First, you need to determine how many valence electrons there are. You can do this by looking at the ones place for the group number on the periodic table. As you can see, hydrogen has 2 valence electrons while oxygen has 6, so altogether they make 8. Next, you are going to draw the structure of the drawing. Oxygen will be the center atom, with hydrogen being the 2 other atoms coming off of it. Now it's time to add the electrons to each atom. Each atom needs to fill the duet or octet rule depending on the atom, so to oxygen you will add 4 electrons, but you won't add any to hydrogen. The duet rule states that the atom only needs 2 electrons in the valence shell. This applies to atoms like hydrogen, helium, and lithium. The octet rule states that the atom needs 8 electrons in the valence shell. This applies to all other atoms. The 4 electrons on top of the oxygen atom form 2 lone pairs. A lone pair is a group of electrons that isn't bonded to anything else. Between the hydrogen and the oxygen atom, there is a line. The line represents a single bond of 2 electrons. A single bond is a covalent bond between 2 atoms that share 1 pair of electrons. At the end, if you add up the number of dots, meaning electrons, in this case 4, and lines, meaning 2 electrons, in this case 2, you add them together, you get 8, which is the amount of electrons we started with. Now we will be making CO2. If you look at the number of electrons carbon has, it's 4, and the number of electrons oxygen has, it's 6. In this case, we have 2 oxygen atoms, so it will be 12. If we add them all together, we get 18. This will be the number of valence electrons we have to work with. Then you start by drawing the central atom. In this case is carbon. Next, you'll need to add 2 lines representing double bonds between the carbon and oxygen atoms. Then, you'll notice the carbon has 4 lines around it. The 4 lines represent 8 electrons. It is happy because it has met the octet rule. Oxygen, however, still needs 4 electrons in order to complete the octet rule. Place 2 electrons on the top and bottom of both oxygen atoms. Both oxygen atoms should have 8 electrons around it. Next, we will be making NH4. Hydrogen has 1 valence electron, times 4 is 4. Nitrogen has 5 valence electrons. 5 plus 4 is 9. We have 9 total valence electrons to work with. Our central atom will be nitrogen. Next, you will add 4 hydrogen atoms going around the nitrogen atom and 1 single bond between each hydrogen and nitrogen atom. Now, each hydrogen meets the duet rule and nitrogen meets the octet rule, and you are done. Next, we'll be making CO3 -2. If you look up how many valence electrons there are for carbon, you have 4, and oxygen you have 6. We'll be using 3 oxygen atoms, so the total is 18 plus 4 equals 22. But there's a -2 charge on the CO3, so the total number of electrons will be 24. Carbon is your central atom with oxygen bonded to carbon sides. Add lines between the oxygen atoms and the carbon atoms to represent single bonds. Place 6 electrons around each oxygen atom. There should be 2 per side except the side that has the line connecting from the oxygen atom to the carbon atom. Check to see if all your atoms meet the octet rule. You'll notice that carbon only has 6 electrons. In order for it to meet the octet rule, you need to move 2 electrons around to form another bond with carbon and oxygen atom. Between one of your oxygen and carbon atoms, you'll have a double bond. Now your structure is complete. Example number 5, it's H2SO4. If you add up all the numbers, H2SO4 has 32 valence electrons. Sulfur is the central atom. Oxygen is bonded to the top and bottom of the sulfur atom. OH is bonded to the left and right sides of the sulfur atom. Both oxygen atoms have a double bond with 4 lone pairs. OH has a single bond with 4 lone pairs on the oxygen atom, 2 electrons on the top and bottom of the oxygen atoms. All atoms should now meet the octet or duet